Spring harvest, a tour of the California garden, some things to do, a look at some cool gardening products. All this and a lot more coming up. So let's begin with all the harvests we made this month, starting with hyacinth beans. Our hyacinth beans were growing on our trellis between the raised beds, and you can see the plants are loaded with hyacinth beans. This is a different style of hyacinth beans which is consumed in the state of Gujarat in India. They are rounder in shape and a little darker green in color. They taste just like regular hyacinth beans though. You can see clusters of hyacinth beans growing on this plant. Remember that hyacinth beans must be cooked before eating. Hyacinth beans are best planted in spring or summer. They will grow all the way till December or even January, after which you will trim them down. It's a very productive bean variety. Once you cook and eat them, they taste amazing. Their taste is very different from French beans. We usually chop it up, add spices, shredded coconut, and eat them. It can also be boiled with lentils and spices and consumed. Either way, they taste amazing. You can look at our harvest of hyacinth beans here, and we did many such harvests during the last few weeks. Bananas. Our Rajapuri bananas were growing on our dwarf banana tree. If you haven't seen a growing guide of this banana variety, do check it out. We will post a link to it in the video description. These bananas take a long time to ripen, sometimes up to 6 months. However, it's definitely worth the wait. These tree-ripened bananas are very delicious. You can see our banana harvest here, fresh and delicious bananas straight from our backyard. Beans. We were growing pole beans in 2 containers. Pole beans produce way more beans than bush beans because they have a lot more space to grow. And as we are harvesting these beans, remember that pole beans are best planted in spring or fall when the temperatures are warm but not too hot nor too cold. They produce abundantly in moderate climate conditions and are very easy to grow in your home garden. And the beans are also quite large in size as you see here. They need almost no fertilizer. Just use good soil with a lot of compost and worm castings added to the soil. During initial planting, you can add some organic fertilizer. However, bean plants can fix nitrogen in the soil with a symbiotic relationship with soil bacteria. So avoid adding too much fertilizer and your bean plants will still grow very well. You can look at our pole beans harvest here. Beets. We were growing beets on our raised beds. Beets are another cool season crop. They grow well when the night temperatures are low. So you can plant them in early spring for a late spring or summer harvest, and then plant them again in fall for a winter harvest. You can see our beets are very nicely formed. You can eat the beet roots as well as the beet greens. You can grow beets in raised beds or in the ground and even in containers. They do very well. They can even be grown close to each other, but I've noticed that you get larger beet roots when you plant them in raised beds, spaced a few inches apart. You can look at our harvest of red beets here, nice and fresh. Blueberries. We don't grow a lot of blueberries here in our garden. However, I think we may have found one variety that does very well in our weather conditions. This is the Jewel variety of blueberry, and it's growing great in this container and yielding very nice berries which are sweet and nice tasting. Now this is a very small plant that we just planted a couple of months ago, and it's already yielding blueberries, which is nice to see. Blueberries require very acidic soil to grow and thrive. We added elemental sulfur to the soil to keep the acidity high. The plant is doing really well already, and we cannot wait for this plant to get bigger and give us even more blueberries. Cilantro. One of our staple herbs to grow during the spring days is cilantro. Cilantro is another cool season crop that grows very well in the spring season. Here is our cilantro growing in raised beds, and you can see the plants have begun to bolt, but have not bolted yet. Bolting is the process when a plant goes to a flowering stage and produces less foliage, common with cool season crops like cilantro when the temperatures go up. You can remove the individual leaves like you see here, and they are just like fresh cilantro leaves from a plant that has not bolted yet. You can still grow cilantro in most weather conditions here in Southern California and still get a decent harvest. Here is the harvest of cilantro leaves from one more stem. Fresh cilantro is absolutely amazing. It smells and tastes great when you harvest it fresh from your garden. And here is one more bunch we are harvesting. Fresh cilantro can be used to season most dishes. If you harvest a lot of cilantro, you can even grind it up with spices and make cilantro chutney by combining cilantro, grated coconut, and spices, and it tastes amazing. There is a Peruvian dish I have eaten with cilantro chutney. You eat it with warm bread and butter, and it tastes amazing. If you know the dish and have eaten it and like it, put in your comments below. This harvest looks great, and we are going to harvest a lot more cilantro by cutting down the stems and harvesting the leaves. Note that we are not entirely removing the plant, not yet. And just look at this beautiful harvest of cilantro we have here. Now you can do 3 or 4 rounds of such harvests before your cilantro completely goes into flowering mode and produces less greens. We also had cilantro growing in our earth box. You can see how nicely they grow here too. Here we are using a popular harvest technique called the cut and come again method of harvesting, where we harvest and prune at the same time to get even more leaves in the future. In a few days' time, on our raised bed, you can see that the cilantro has completely entered the flowering stage. At this stage, you can let the cilantro plant produce seeds, which can be dried and stored. However, we want to use our raised bed area for planting more summer veggies, so we will completely remove these plants, use the leaves, and compost the roots and stems. So we just pull out all the plants and roots like you see here, after which you can start again by planting new cilantro plants. Kohlrabi, also called German cabbage, is known by different names. It's one of our favorite spring crops to grow. We are growing these in raised beds and harvesting them now. You can see how nicely the kohlrabis have developed. And yes, just like all other brassica, like cabbages and cauliflowers, the kohlrabi leaves are edible too. Kohlrabi again is a cool season crop that grows great in spring and fall. You can see our harvested kohlrabi here. Limes. Our air-layered bear's lime tree is growing very well in this container, and you can see it's already fruiting and the limes look amazing. The bear's lime is a thornless plant and starts producing tart limes which are seedless. These are our favorite limes to grow, and they turn yellow when fully ripe. Loquats. Loquats are our second tastiest fruits to grow in the garden, and if you are a California gardening fan, you know the tastiest fruit we grow and harvest in our garden. So drop in a comment stating what it is. We will select one winner that receives surprise seed packets from us and notify them by next month. Our loquat tree, the dwarf Christmas loquat, was loaded with fruit, and it fruits twice a year, producing these really sweet and delicious loquats. Look at how beautiful they are, and they have a complex tropical flavor. And yes, you mostly cannot buy loquats at the grocery store as they are highly perishable. Loquats turn from yellow to an orange color when they are ripe. The darker the color, the sweeter they are. But you need to get to them before the squirrels do. Your loquat tree will fruit once or twice a year and give you an abundance of fruits. You can see we have many more fruits still on our loquat tree. And loquats are usually the first fruits you will harvest in spring, followed by peaches and apples. You can look at one harvest of our loquats here, and there are many more to come. Mulberries. The mulberry variety we are growing, believe it or not, is called World's Best. These mulberries are much larger than regular mulberries, but still shorter than the Pakistan mulberry. It's also a much more compact tree that you can keep trimmed and still enjoy the fruits. We are harvesting some mulberries even from this really small plant growing in this container. And yes, the fruits are very sweet and delicious. In just a few days, more mulberries have ripened. So let's harvest these as well. These are some really delicious mulberries we enjoyed eating. Peppers. We had a wide variety of peppers growing on our raised beds, you can see these pepperoncinis that we are harvesting. Very interesting flavor. They look pretty cool too. Next, we are harvesting our banana peppers. These yellow banana peppers are sweet peppers with a mild and nice taste. Next, you can see these hot sriracha peppers we are harvesting. They have a nice hot peppery flavor and the plant seems to be very productive. I am planning to enrich this soil further with some organic fertilizer to green up the leaves. So that's a to-do for us this month to make these plants grow even bigger. Some more pepperoncinis we are harvesting here, and you can see all our peppers harvested here, ready to be used in the kitchen. Spinach. We were growing the pale green Indian spinach variety, and you can see that slugs love spinach as well. And since we grow everything organically, I think I don't mind a few holes in my leaves. However, if you start seeing a lot of holes like you see here, you can use a slug and snail bait to save your veggies. I'll provide a link to an organic, safe to use product in the video description. The plant has grown big enough that we can start harvesting the leaves now. Due to the higher temperatures, it's also sending out flowers. So it's best to harvest the leaves at or before the stage of the spinach plant flowering. This variety of the pale green spinach is one of our favorites. It has a nice creamy spinach flavor when cooked. We usually cook them with lentils, even eat it raw in salads. This is a very nice variety. I found one slug on the bottom leaf to show you that random holes like these on your spinach leaves usually means it's slugs or snails, and you can still wash and use these leaves. It's perfectly okay to be in harmony with nature. And behold our fresh and delicious spinach harvest. Sweet potatoes. We love growing these deep pink or red California sweet potatoes every year. It's easiest to grow them in containers, but it may not be the most efficient way, as you will soon see. This is a 15-gallon container that got completely ignored in the side of our garden. Let's see how many sweet potatoes we get here. You can see the plant did get root bound, and this is why containers are okay to grow sweet potatoes, but you can grow way more sweet potatoes from raised beds or by growing them in the ground. Anyways, you can look at our sweet potatoes here. We will bake them or steam them and enjoy eating our homegrown produce. Tomatoes. We had one Roma tomato plant overwintered from last year. The benefit of overwintering tomatoes is that you get fruits very early in the season, like you see here. We had a lot of tomatoes still on this plant that we are harvesting now. We love growing Roma tomatoes. We save seeds every year and they grow amazing each year we plant them. And now let's take a tour of our garden, starting with the raised beds. In the first raised bed, we have a lot of peppers growing. You saw us harvest a few of these peppers already. But you can see there are way more peppers growing now. The poblano peppers are also growing pretty well. So we will continue to harvest these peppers in the upcoming weeks. We have some tomato plants, single stem tomatoes. And on the other side, we have some taro plants growing. So you can see a couple of single stem tomatoes here, both doing well. And on the trellis between the raised beds, we have our hyacinth bean plant growing, which is flowering like crazy and producing hyacinth beans. On the other side of the trellis, we planted some cucumber plants. And moving on to the other side, we have some Roma tomatoes. These were overwintered from last year. We have some chilies and eggplants also overwintered from last year. And we intentionally kept the space vacant for our okra plants. On the other side, we have some more brassicas that are still growing, the cauliflowers, followed by some single stem tomatoes. And right between that, we have some more pepper plants growing, as you can see here. They're looking beautiful. We have some puneri cucumber plants here, followed by another couple of single stem tomatoes that we are growing. We also have the black cobra chili pepper plant from last year. Now in the other trellis, we have some ridge gourds growing, a couple of ridge gourds, and on the other side we have a couple of bottle gourds. These are the dark green spotted bottle gourds. Some more ridge gourds here. We have some eggplants on this corner, multiple eggplant varieties that we just planted, followed by the tapioca or the boba plant that's growing well. And onions, a lot of onions here as you can see. A couple of taro root plants, some chili peppers. And on the last raised bed we have beets. We harvested a lot of beets and there are still more growing on this raised bed. Our curry leaf plant is growing well too. We planted a couple of ash gourd or winter melon plants here. We'll let this plant run on the raised bed. And this is the spinach that you saw. We are waiting for the seeds to develop so we can save the seeds. And on the back we have our ivy gourd plants that are already producing. It's quite early for ivy gourds to produce fruits yet, but still looking pretty good and producing well. Now at the back you can see our sapodilla plant, something that's always hidden by the ivy gourds, but it's also fruiting now. You can see beautiful looking fruits on this sapodilla plant. Moving on to the containers, we have our apples. The apples are looking beautiful in this 4-in-1 apple tree, followed by this surprise fig tree that grew out of nowhere in this firecracker plant pot. We have our holy basil plant that's looking really good. We have our tree chili that's producing a lot of chilies as you can see here. I really love this variety because it produces a lot of chilies and it grows pretty big too. We have our purple December flower plant, followed by our sherbet berry plant that's showing some signs of life now. We have our purple haze rose that we are trying to air layer, and our henna plant as well, the henna tree. That's an air layer there as well. We have our bell of India jasmine. And finally our fig tree that's producing figs now. On the other side we have this variegated Eureka lemon which produces pink lemons. We have our snake gourd plant that's growing well now. These are some epiphyllums and some beetle leaf plants that you can see that are growing here. These are some of our overwintered eggplants. There are two types of eggplants, the thorned eggplant and the cashmere eggplants. This is our purple taro that's growing really well in this container. It's been a long time now since it's been growing. This is another overwintered eggplant that you can see here, followed by our super spicy chili peppers that we overwintered from last year as well. We have some Peruvian ginger plants growing. This is a very interesting plant I'm trying out for the first time this year. We also planted our yellow turmeric plants. We have our beans, the pole bean plant that's growing well in this container. And this is our beetle leaf plant. Beetle leaf plants love the shade, and you can see that once the weather warms up, they grow pretty well. Our hummingbird tree plant is also growing quite well now, followed by some cucumbers that we planted, a couple of cucumber varieties here in this container. And our longevity spinach plant is looking really good as you can see here. And now let's look at some things for you to do. Once the season is over, you can remove your greenstock planter tiers, put some new soil in them, and then set them back for the next season. You can see we removed all our previous season plants, added some soil, and we are ready to start the next season with some potatoes. Now we enriched the soil with this organic fertilizer. I really like this fertilizer. I will provide a link to this fertilizer in the video description as well. But it has a lot of beneficial bacteria. It has a very good effect on plant health. And we got this from our local Costco. but you can also buy this on Amazon. This is a really high quality fertilizer that we have been using this year. And we just mix in a little bit on the top area of the soil. And now the soil is enriched and it will grow really good plants for the upcoming season. In the gardening section of today's episode, we will be looking at the Land Guard Advanced Raised Garden Bed and how it can transform your garden. This product was sent to me for review. However, this review is an honest opinion of what I think about the product. The product arrived with all the parts you need to assemble this raised garden bed. It is made of high quality steel and comes in various colors. All the parts you need to assemble this bed are laid out here. They look to be solidly built and the instruction manual is pretty basic, but this bed is so easy to assemble that this should suffice. We received the Starlight Silver color, but this raised garden bed is also available in multiple colors like you see on the screen here. The first step is to assemble the plastic feet that go onto the legs on which this raised bed will stand. It's better to do this now as a first step. They snap on pretty easily onto the base of the leg. On the left, you can see the base of the leg, and on the right is its top portion. There are holes provided which align exactly with the panels, and we will use nuts and bolts to secure them. Now the top protection panels can be installed now since the edges are sharp, but they fall off sometimes, so you may want to do this at the end if you wish. They snap onto the top just like you see here. And this is how the legs snap on. This is a good thing to do before you start assembling the sides, and we are going to do the same for all the 4 legs of this raised bed. Now the legs of the raised bed are ready to be attached to the side panels. To attach the side panel, keep the edge of the sides along the legs. They only fit one way to align with the holes on the legs. You slide the bolt from the outer side, and while holding the bolt, attach the nut and tighten it while hand holding the bolt from the other side. Don't worry about tightening it too much, just hand tighten them for now. I like to put the nuts and the bolts at the ends first, making the leg more stable and also making the other holes align perfectly well for the rest of the nuts and bolts. But you could go in any order. Here you can get a better view of how to slide in the bolt and then attach the nut and tighten it. And here is the final nut and bolt that we are attaching, and once again just hand tightening is enough for now. Alright, so one side of the panel is attached to the leg. We will now attach the other leg to this panel. The process is the same. We are using the same nuts and bolts to attach it. So I will speed through this process. Remember that the bolts always face outward. As you can see here, the sides are now assembled. What is left is attaching the other smaller side now that the wider side is attached. And this is how it looks like after the sides are attached. We are attaching the final side now, and after that's completed, you can see how the raised bed looks like. All that's left to do now is attach the base of the raised bed. And here you can see the bottom of the raised bed attached. It's important to keep the large steel bar towards the outer end when assembling, so keep that in mind. The large base connects to the legs with nuts only, no bolts. And finally, you can attach the top safety plastic units to prevent touching the sharp edges and to also make the raised beds look aesthetically pleasing. Just look at how beautiful the raised bed looks now. The Starlight Silver color that you see here complements our turf color very well. Now we will use a power tool to tighten the bolts. Remember, we earlier only hand tightened these, so now is a good idea to secure all the bolts. I just hand hold the nut on one side and then tighten the bolt. It works quite well this way. Now we also got a couple of solar lights for each bed, so 4 total for 2 beds. I recommend that you get 4 solar lights per bed, and you'll shortly see why. These lights charge a built-in battery using solar power. You can see the solar panels on the top. And they also have a built-in photo sensor, so they only turn on during dark. Before we add soil, we will secure the base and side of the bed with a weed block fabric. Just cut to the desired length, and you can use some tape to hold it in place while you secure it on all sides. This will let air and water through without causing the soil or dirt to leak from all the sides. I highly recommend you do this step before you add soil. And now we will be adding our potting mix to the bed. This bed holds a whopping 60 gallons of soil, and it does hold enough soil for you to grow anything: veggies, flower plants, or plants with long roots like carrots or radish, even berries, and some smaller fruit trees. You could maybe even plant one citrus tree in it, and it may have enough room to grow and fruit. For the soil mix, we used a mix of peat moss, compost, and perlite. Finally, let's attach the solar lights. They have a magnetic back, so they can be easily attached to any part of the raised bed. It also has an on-off switch, so the lights automatically turn on or off depending on the available light. They turn on automatically at dark and turn off at sunrise. We are attaching the solar lights to the side of the bed now. And when I cover the top with my hand, you can see that it lights up. So here are our fully assembled raised beds with solar lights and soil. I have to say they look great during the day and also at night. You can see how beautiful the solar lights cast a pattern on the ground. This really gives a nice modern look to your garden. So yes, I highly recommend getting the solar lights as it adds a nice touch to your garden, and they also attach easily onto these raised beds. Now you might be wondering if the bed heats up during days of strong sunlight, so I did do that test. The panels have a galvanized coating for dual protection. The colored versions are also sprayed with a non-toxic, harmless powder coating. And it did not get hot at all. In fact, it was cold to the touch, possibly because the steel material on a larger area dissipates heat faster than other materials like plastic. Black plastic, for example, gets really hot during days of strong sun. The materials are child and pet friendly. The steel is 100% recyclable. The 2.7 foot height is ideal for back relief, making daily tasks like sowing, watering, and weeding easier without bending over. I wish it had an option to add wheels to the legs. This might be useful to move it around on paved surfaces. I don't expect to move this on the turf area like we have here though. And let's go ahead and do some planting now. We are planting these marigold plants in this raised bed. You can see that it looks really beautiful. We are going to be spacing these out 5 plants in this one raised bed. And this looks really beautiful. Once the plants are in, these will grow really big and produce wonderful flowers. So this really elevates the look of your garden. You can see that the raised bed looks beautiful. The plants that we are planting here will grow and will adorn this garden with some beautiful flowers. And after planting, make sure that you water well. The potting mix that we're using does retain a lot of water. It has peat moss that retains water. It also has compost for nutrients and water retention, as well as perlite that helps with drainage. But you can see that after planting, these plants look beautiful, and we are really excited to see how these plants grow and produce some wonderful flowers. So all in all, it was a pleasure to review this raised bed by LandGuard, and I'm quite happy with the materials, design, and construction. We will be using this to grow a lot of plants in our garden. And there we have it. Hope you enjoyed the spring harvest. Hit that like button if you enjoyed watching this video. And if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments box below. We'll see you again soon. Happy gardening.